I gave up my career for this family, Sophie told me, and now my lawyer says that's exactly why I'm walking away with less. Here's the number that should scare you. In most divorces, the partner who earned less during the marriage ends up with less than half the household's actual wealth, even in states and countries with equal division laws. Not because the law is broken on paper, because the math was already broken years before the divorce papers were filed. And look, I know that's a heavy way to start a video, but I'm not here to scare you for fun. I've spent years studying the exact moment where love and money stop being separate conversations. The moment one partner quietly becomes financially dependent and the other quietly becomes financially untouchable, and neither of them notices until a lawyer points it out. If you're the higher earner watching this, don't leave. This affects you too, more than you think. And if you're the one who's been out of the workforce or working part-time, or the one who just handles the household stuff, honestly, this video might be the most important 11 minutes you spend this year. Before we go further, subscribe, because we're going to keep having these conversations nobody else is willing to have. And here's my promise to you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what financial invisibility looks like inside a marriage, and 3 specific things you can do this month, married, single, doesn't matter, to make sure you're never the one left holding nothing. Sophie and Aid had what most people would call a good marriage. 15 years, 2 kids, a house they were proud of. When their daughter was born, they made a decision together. Sophie would step back from her marketing job. Aid would keep climbing at his company. It felt fair. It felt like teamwork. Nobody sat down and said, "I'm about to become financially dependent on you for the next decade." That's not how it happens. It happens one reasonable decision at a time. Aid's salary kept growing. His resume kept building. His retirement account kept compounding. Sophie's did none of those things, because you can't build a resume, a salary history, or a retirement account while you're doing the unpaid labor that makes someone else's career possible. That's not a criticism of either of them. That's just what happened, and it happens in millions of households, sometimes to the wife, sometimes to the husband, sometimes to whoever agreed to be the flexible one. Here's the part that catches people off guard. Most divorce laws split marital assets, the house, the joint savings, sometimes retirement accounts, fairly evenly. Sounds fair, right? But think about what doesn't get split evenly. Earning power, career momentum, professional networks, the ability to walk into a job interview next month and say, "Here's my last 10 years of experience." Aid left the marriage with a career. Sophie left with half a house and a 10-year gap on her resume. On paper, the assets were divided 50-50. In real life, one of them left with a future income stream, and one of them left with a hole to climb out of. That's the trap nobody explains to you at the wedding. The law protects what you can count. It doesn't protect what you gave up. You don't wake up one day financially dependent. It creeps in. Maybe you took the lower-paying job so your partner could take the higher-stress one. Maybe you're the one who left the workforce temporarily, and temporarily became 6 years. Maybe every account is joint, but only one name is actually on the mortgage, the business, or the retirement plan. Ask yourself honestly, if this relationship ended tomorrow, could you rebuild, not survive? Rebuild. Do you know your household's full financial picture, or do you know enough? Because enough is exactly what people say right before they find out it wasn't. Priya's story is a little different. She and Daniel weren't headed for divorce, at least she didn't think so. But when Daniel was hospitalized briefly and she had to handle their finances for 2 weeks, she found something that changed how she saw their entire marriage. A retirement account, employer matched, grown for 11 years. Her name wasn't on it, and more importantly, she'd had no idea how large it had gotten. Nothing shady had happened. Daniel wasn't hiding anything maliciously. It was just his account from his job that she'd never asked about. Because, honestly, why would you? You're married. It felt like snooping to even ask. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Not knowing isn't the same as being protected. And we're a team doesn't automatically mean we're equally informed. So let's get practical, because I promised you specifics, not just a gut punch. First, know the full picture, always. Every account, every asset, every retirement fund, whether it's in your name or not. This isn't about distrust. It's about the fact that financial blindness is exactly what the legal system punishes hardest. Second, if you're the one stepping back from a career, negotiate that decision like the financial contribution it actually is. That might mean spousal support conversations before there's ever a conflict. That might mean keeping your own small income stream alive, even part-time, just to protect your resume and your social security or pension history. It might mean a written agreement about how career sacrifice gets accounted for if things end. Third, retirement accounts and career growth need to be treated as marital contributions, not individual achievements. If one partner's career grew because the other partner made space for it, that's a joint investment. Talk about it like one. Document it if you have to. None of this is unromantic. Honestly, I'd argue it's the opposite. Nothing says, I take this seriously, like protecting your partner from a future you hope never comes. If you're the one whose career kept growing while your partner's paused, this part is for you. You didn't do anything wrong by succeeding. But ask yourself, does your partner know exactly what your accounts look like? Have you ever had the conversation about what happens to their earning power if this ends? Not because you're planning for divorce, but because real partnership means the person who gave something up isn't left exposed. The couples who handle this well aren't the ones who never think about worst-case scenarios. They're the ones who think about them together, early, before resentment or fear ever gets a seat at the table. I want to be really clear about something. Talking about this stuff doesn't mean you think your marriage is failing. It means you respect your partner enough to make sure that if life goes sideways, neither of you starts from zero. Sophie told me something later that stuck with me. She said the hardest part wasn't the money. It was realizing she'd disappeared financially without ever agreeing to it. That nobody had asked her, hey, are you okay with what this decision costs you to long term? That's the real conversation, not who gets what in a divorce. But are we both financially visible in this relationship right now, while things are good? Remember what Sophie said at the very start. I gave up my career for this family, and now my lawyer says that's exactly why I'm walking away with less. That line isn't really about the divorce settlement. It's about a decade of being financially unseen, of trusting that fairness would just happen, instead of making sure it was built in on purpose, whether you're the higher earner or the one who stepped back, whether you're married, engaged, or just watching this while you eat lunch alone, thinking about your own situation. The lesson is the same. Love doesn't automatically create financial fairness. You have to build it on purpose, together, while the relationship is good, not after a lawyer explains what you lost. If this hit something real for you, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone who stepped back for their family and never talks about what that cost them, send them this video, not as a warning, as a way of saying, I see what you gave up, and it should count. Subscribe, because next week we're talking about the conversation almost no couple has before, combining finances, and it might be the one that would have saved Sophie and AD's marriage entirely.